Hello students, I am Dr. Prabhat Jha, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Patna Women's College, Autonomous. Today in this lecture, we will discuss the themes related to Amitabh Ghosh's novel, The Shadow Lines. One of the major themes of the novel is the concept of nation and nationalism. The title of the novel itself questions the idea of nation as a grand entity. The lines between the nations are shadowy and arbitrary. They can change whenever there are political involvements or wars. Thamma believes that there will be some physical line between India and Bangladesh, at least a fence which she will be able to watch from the plane. For instance, one evening when we were sitting out in the garden, she wanted to know whether she would be able to see the border between India and East Pakistan from the plane. In the novel, there is a personal history of a family that got divided after the partition of Bengal. It later became East Pakistan, and after the war in 1971, it became Bangladesh. Hence, what Thamma thought to be her home before partition was an enemy territory. She always rooted for India against her childhood home due to her strong belief in the idea of nationalism. It can be said that due to the European invention of map making to control the third world countries, the idea of a small place to be home without thinking about the nation as a whole became a little far-fetched after the colonial period. They went after dividing the countries by drawing boundaries on the map that didn't exist in reality. When Thamma goes to Dhaka to bring back her uncle Jetha Moshai, he rejects the idea of nationhood completely. I understand very well, the old man muttered. I know everything. I understand everything. Once you start moving, you never stop. That's what I told my sons when they took the trains. I said, I don't believe in this India Shindia. It's all very well. You are going away now. But suppose when you get there, they decide to draw another line somewhere. What will you do then? Where will you move to? No one will have you anywhere. As for me, I was born here and I'll die here. He indicates the baselessness of the modern European idea of nationhood in favor of a Hamletian concept of a place of birth as home, regardless of the changes in political boundaries. Another important theme of The Shadow Lines is religious conflict. The idea of religious violence used by the author is an import of his experience of 1984 Sikh pogrom, about which he had written in detail. The violence in the novel takes place in Kolkata and Dhaka. Thamma fears that the Muslims will kill her Jetha Moshai. However, for Jetha Moshai, it is a baseless thought. For her, the identity of the rickshaw puller as a Muslim is a thing of concern. However, Jetha Moshai is still living in an era where religion and violence had no connection. Only place of birth connected each other. However, in the end, we see that the same fanatic violence killed him along with Tridib and Khalil. Hence, the fear of Thamma comes to reality. Imagination versus reality is the third important theme. Tridib teaches the unnamed narrator to imagine with precision. He wants to become Tridib's shadow even after his death by using his imagination. Tridib could create imaginative stories about places that he never visited. This ability to invent yet not fabricate a description of the place is what makes the narrator follow the imagination of Tridib. On the other hand, Ila only remembers about the airports while traveling throughout the world. This makes Tridib a true cosmopolitan, as he was much more a world citizen transcending all boundaries. Memory is another theme. This novel has been called a memory novel by many critics. The unnamed narrator realized a lot of his memory for the retelling of the incidents. The narrator tells his friends to search for the account of a riot that took place in Calcutta when the narrator was a child. This account is absent from the official history and has been neglected by the national media, as after that many were killed in police firing. On the other hand, we see Thamma trying to recreate the chunks of her childhood, looking at the shops in Dhaka while going towards her ancestral house. For Ghosh, memory gives a much more authentic account as it comes from experience rather than the essentialization of the symbolic notion of national history. History and subalternity is also an important theme of the novel. The history that the memory of the narrator and other characters create becomes a part of the subaltern narrative as it fights against the grand narrative national history. The incident which happened in Calcutta and Dhaka, which are extremely important in the life of narrator and his family, are ignored by the national media and the collective memory of the nation. In the end, what the narrator does is reproduce the incidents to fill the gap that is created in the official national history and break the silence about them through a personal reconstruction using his memory. In Ghosh's The Shadow Lines, the writer expects the reader to be aware and interested in the lesser known individual history that is missing from the official history that is presented to us by the mainstream historians. That is why we can call The Shadow Lines an attempt to create a narrative from the memory where you are not dependent on facts but experiences that are individual rather than something that is related to a whole nation. Thank you. I hope this lecture will be useful for you.